So today's topic is classes, objects, and methods, which are called as constructors also. So we are going to discuss some important topics over here. First of all, we will let us see what is a class, and we will see what is a sample program regarding the class, how to use class, and afterwards we will see what is. After that, we will be visiting methods which are supposed to be part of the class, and then we will see varieties of methods which are possible and different types of methods which are possible as part of the class called as constructors. Okay, let us get into the topic. The topic is class. Class is nothing but a blueprint of an object or a template of a class where we can put the properties and actions into one unit, or we can say common properties, common actions, properties and actions, common properties and actions are grouped into one unit. It's called as a class. If class is not there, there are no objects. Okay, if there is no class, there are no objects. So what is the purpose of the class? Purpose of the class is to create a new data type. We say in a programming language as class is nothing but a new data type which is defined by the user. So whatever we write in Java programming language, at least it should contain a class. So without class, there is no Java programming language. So let us see this. What is a class? As I said, class is a blueprint that contains variables and methods which are common to all objects of certain kind. I repeat once again the same point. A class is nothing but a combination of variables and methods which are common to every object belonging to a particular class. So every object which belongs to a certain class will contain common properties which are grouped into a class. Now what are these common properties? Here properties are nothing but variables and methods. Here we have an example. A dog is an example here given. So let us say that you have a dog in at your home. So the name of the dog is called as different types of varieties like variable name. So let us say that at your home you have a dog which belongs to a class called as a dog, and the object here, the object is the puppy at your home, which contains values like variables which are defined under class. So an object is an instance of a class. So one more thing, we can say that a class is an imaginary thing which does not have any physical appearance of it. Because as I told you, if a class is a dog, so every dog contains certain properties to it, certain features to the particular dogs. Every dog has some common properties that will be grouped into a class called as a dog. So whether it is a different type of a dog, then it will be created as different objects. So there are different types of dogs are available in the market. So all of them will be coming under one class called as a dog, and they are all called as objects of that class called as dog. So in the next slide we are seeing that class is a basic for Java programming language. So each and every concept which is described in the Java includes a class, and every class defines a new data type whose values are objects. So we can say a class is a template for objects, and we can also say that object is an instance of a class. So let us see the definition of a class. What does it contain? What are the common properties which can be gathered into one unit? A class contains name, several variables. Class contains a name, several variable declarations, several method declarations. All are called members of the class. I repeat once again. Class contains a name, the name of the class itself, and it contains variables, methods, which are grouped into one unit. So what is the syntax of the class or the general form of a class? So to denote a class, first of all, we need to write a keyword called as a class, followed by a class name, and after that, you can see here type instance variable 1, type instance variable up to n, and after that type method name 1, method name 2 up to n parameters. There are parameter list also. So this is a general form of a class to write a or define a class. First you observe here in the first line itself, it is denoted as class name. Class name can be anything, a meaningful name which can be given to a class. And in the second line, we are about to see that is type instance variable 1 followed by semicolon. So what is the type here? Type is nothing but the return type here or the data type to the variable which it belongs to. So for a variable, it should be a data type. So here also, it may include so many variables into it, and also along with the variables, the methods which can operate on these variables are called as methods, which contains return type here, data type as a return type for the methods. So we can say that a class contains several variables and methods and a name for it, called as a class name. So whatever variables which are part of the class are called as instance variables. Try to note this point if you have a notes with you. That is, any variable which is part of a class is called as an instance variable. Second point, a method which is part of a class is called as an instance method. A method which is accessed or part of the class is called as an instance method. So this is a sample program. But before we get into the sample program, let us see details about this thing. I told you just now, a class is a blueprint, an object is an instance of a class. Class contains instance variable and instance methods. Okay, I think everyone is clear with this. Let us get into the program, a small program regarding the class. So this is how we can define a class, the proper example. You can see here there is a class called box, class with a name called as box, and it contains three variables. It contains three variables named as, the first variable named as width, second variable named as height, and the third variable named as depth. So class, which is called as a box, contains three variables: width, height, depth. Okay. So what happens with these variables? So class contains only these variables only. I told you in the previous explanation about the class, every class contains variables and methods. But here we did not use methods inside the class, or we didn't write any kind of a method under the class box. Only we are demonstrating here about variables. These variables are also called as instance variables. These variables are also called as instance variables. So this is what in a class we defined. A class named as box which contains three variables. That's it. We defined the class box with the three variables and we closed it. And after that, we are using that class box into another class which contains a main method. Try to understand here, we are creating objects in the other class. Within the same class, we also create it, but to have a clarity about how to use the class, we are using this class inside this other class called as a class box demo. So to use this class, we need to create, or to access these variables with the height, depth, we should have object for it. To access these variables, instance variables, we should create instances for the class box. So to do that, we are writing one more class name called as box demo, public static void main, string args, followed open brace. So I already discussed about why we are writing this public static void main. I hope everyone knows this thing. Next line, we are creating box class object, that is my box. By using a new operator, we are creating an object. This is a way we can create an object for a class called as box. And after that, we are creating a variable called as double VOL inside class box demo. Class name called as box demo. Inside it, we are creating one more variable called as volume. Now to access these variables, we need object. We have already created that object. So my box is an object for the box class. So by using the my box object of box class, we are accessing a variable of it, variable belonging to the box class. So to access any instance variable, we need instances. To access any instance variables, we need instances of that particular class. Now here instance is my box, instance variable is width equals to 10, and after that my box dot height equals to 20. Next my box dot depth equals to 15. So here volume equals to, we are calculating volume of the box, my box into width, my box dot width into my box dot height into my box dot depth. These are the operations which are followed to find the volume of the box. So after that, we are displaying the volume like this. Hope everyone understood this program regarding usage of the class. That is, we have a class over here. We are using this class inside a class, inside the box demo class, To access these variables, we need instances. Instances are nothing but objects. So the object over here is my box. Using this object, we are accessing these variables. Hope everyone understood. If everyone understood, I can proceed it. Next topic is, just now I told you, to access any class, we need instances or objects of that particular class. What is object or what is an object? So an object is a real world attribute or real world things that may have behavior, state and behavior. What is the state? State is nothing but the name, color. These are the states of a particular object. So name of a person, let us say that if we are dealing with an object called as some person name, Ramu or Suresh, whatever it may be. If Suresh is the name of a person, so what exactly Suresh belongs to? He will be belonging to a class called human being. So every human being will have some common properties like eyes, nose, ears, legs, hands, fingers, like this. So what are the behaviors of an object? So every object will have a state and behavior. Behaviors are nothing but what a person can do. Person Suresh can do. Suresh can run, read, write, see, walk, talk, whatever it may be, he can do. So what are the behaviors part of the object or a person we are discussing about? They are called under behaviors. Or else simply we can say that an object is a physical entity which we can see, which we can feel, and which we can touch. But what about class? A class is an imaginary thing which we cannot feel, which we cannot touch, we cannot feel them, we cannot see them. So this is the basic difference between a class and object. And also I told you, without classes there are no objects. But if you have a class, the objects may not be possible. It means that there may be classes, but there are no objects of it. There are no instances of it. And one more point I discussed, that is instance of a class is an object. So here in the next point it is mentioning as a software object is a bundle of variables and methods which are part of it. So any software application, it may be dealing with several types of variables, several type of methods which are part of it. So how to create objects? In the previous example program, we created one object called as my box by using an operator called as new. Here you can observe a variable is declared to refer to the objects of a class. Here we are demonstrating string class. String, if string is one class, then S will be the object for it. Or simply we can say in terms of data types and variables, if string is a data type, S will be the variable. And one more thing is, in the next point it is mentioned as the value of S is null. It means that it is not referring to any kind of a value at present instance. At the current creation of or at the time of initial creation of an object, it is not holding any kind of variable or methods to it. So we put null equals to 0, S equals to 0, or some kind of a null character will be used. So initially it is not holding any kind of values. Next, a new string object is created in memory with initials called as ABC. So Here S is an object belonging to the string class with a name called ABC. The name of the object is ABC. And whenever you use new kind of a operator, you are allotting a memory for it. So a new memory is created with S, which contains a name called as ABC. Now S contains the address of the new object. It means that S contains a new memory here. A new memory is created. It is an important topic here, object discussion. So what do you mean by object discussion? Sorry, destruction. Object destruction is nothing but destroying a memory which is created. See, when we come across C++, mostly C++, we have constructors and destructors as part of the programming. The purpose of the constructor is to create a memory for different types of variables which are part of a class or methods which have been used. Whereas in Java, the constructor purpose is same, that is to create a memory to hold some variables and methods as part of the memory. In C++, we have destructor also. The memory which is created under constructor. So what we have to do in C++? We should write a destructor for the constructor. So memory will be released so that it can be utilized once more. So it is a responsibility of the programmer to write a destructor as part of the program wherever the constructor has been used. But in Java, constructors are there, but there are no destructors. So there is no concept of destructors which are part of Java. So what do you mean by this? It means Java contains a strategy called as automatic memory deletion or garbage collector. So JVM, I think everyone knows about JVM. JVM will have a automatic garbage collector as part of execution engine. So with this feature, Java is able to delete a memory which is created by the constructor. So as I, as I said, constructor is creating memory. For whom it is creating memory? It is creating memory for the variables and methods of a class. They may be instance variables or instance methods or any kind of a method. So constructor is creating memory for several type of variables and methods which are part of a class. So in this slide, there are two mechanisms to free memory that is no longer needed by the program. That is, if the memory is of not, let us say that if the memory is to be reused, then we have to delete that memory. So in C++, we can do manually, that is programmer is responsible. But in Java, it is done in automatic way. So with the help of garbage collector, which is part of JVM. So next we come to the topic called as methods. See, the sequence I followed is first we discussed about class and then I discussed about object because it is an instance of a class and what object can deal with. What exactly a class contains. Who is this Radhika Advik, Sentence High School? or Advik, 3rd class 3D. Okay, so as I said, class, first of all, the class is discussed. Next, object is discussed because it is a sequence of steps to be followed. First, there should be a class, after that, object. Now, object contains several things to be monitored. So, the next thing is methods. So, methods are part of a class. So, object can use those classes which are part of class. So the signature of a method or the definition of a method will look like something like this. That is, it will include type, that is return type, the name of the method name, that is name of the method should be there, and it may be followed by the parameter list, and it contains some definition part will contain some return values into it. So all of them will be part of the methods declaration and definition. See, we will be seeing one by one the parts of the methods, that is components. First of all, we are demonstrating type. What is type? Type of values returned by the method. It is nothing but data type which can be returned. If a method does not return any value, then the return type should be void, as you know. Next, name. It is nothing but the name of the method which is used for a particular purpose. Next, parameter list. So these are the sequence of type identifier list separated by commas. It is nothing but the number of arguments which have been accessed by the method. Number of parameters which are processed by the method, that will be denoted in the brackets as parameter list. Next, fourth point, return value. It means that if the methods contain some value to be returned to the main method, then there should be a return type inside the method. I repeat once again, that is, a method wants to return some value to the main, then it should have a return statement inside it, that is return value. Next, this is what we have: a method, normal method or example method, how it can be declared or defined. So classes declare methods to hide their internal data structures as well as for their own internal use. Within a class, we can refer directly to its members. So whatever it may be, but class contains methods, and these methods which are part of the class, they can utilize the variables which are part of the class only. That is what it is discussing here. So according to the class box, there are three variables, that is width, height, depth, and it contains a method name called as void volume, and there are no parameters inside it. Okay, there are no parameters inside the volume method. It is returning nothing. That's why it have a void return type. So method contains two statements, that is system.out.print volume is. The next statement is println width into height into depth. So these are the two statements which are part of a method called as volume. So we can say that from this example, any method which is part of a class, it has to access variables of that particular class by the usage of objects. So to access or to know the results, what the width, height and depth contains, it can be viewed through volume, that is a method. So how to call these methods? So we need objects. So these both variables and methods are part of a class. So we need an object to view the contents of it. So for this, we need to create objects for a particular class, and then we will call these methods. So this is what we have without parameters and without return type, that is void. Next, we have parameterized method. So what do you mean by parameterized method? A method which contains parameters, we can say that parameterized method. So what is the advantage of parameterized method? So by using parameterized method, we can know what kind of a data is processed by a particular method. Type of a data. We are not seeing what kind of a data, it is type of a data which can be accessed. So methods can be of variety of types. That is, methods without parameters are possible. Methods with the parameters or without parameters are also possible. There are different signatures have been followed here. For example, here int square is one kind of a method. It means that it does not have parameters, but it has a return type which is returning an integer value. So it means that in its definition, there should be one kind of a return statement should be possible. So return 10 into 10. So 10 into 10 is some kind of an integer value. So that will be denoted as integer, denoted as integer here, int square. In the second variety of method, we have int square of int I. To try to understand, the parameter is one more integer here. Parameter list contains one integer variable. So based on that value, we are returning the output of those processed value through the type of the method, integer. So parameter is a variable receiving a value at the time of method invocation. This is called as runtime value operation. So next, argument is nothing but a value passed to the method when it is invoked. Argument is type of a value which is received by the particular parameter. So parameter is nothing but a variable name. Argument is nothing but the value which is given to that particular variable. So this is about method. So we are almost done with the time, I think so. It is less than 1 minute. So I think it is enough for today. I will brief it once again within half an hour what we discussed today. That is, first we discussed what is class, what does class contain, and next we discussed about object, what does object deals with, and how objects are created, how the object's memory will be deleted. Next we have seen what are the things which are possible under class, that is method. Now how the method will be used and what method can process and what are the different types of methods which are supposed to be used as part of the class. I think everyone understood. In the next class, we are going to see some more topics. Okay, thank you.